Hello there and welcome once again to USR1 Retro. I thought for this one I'd take a little break from doing the Nintendo videos, and I thought I'd do another, well, my second movie based post. And today it's going to be three of my favourite Joe Dante movies. Now I've loved loads of his movies over the years. Looney Tunes Back in Action, Explorers, Gremlins 2. In fact, there was two versions of Gremlins 2. In the cinema, well, it's when the film basically gets interrupted by the Gremlins and they take over and all that. There's two different versions of that sequence. You've got the cinema version, which has got Hulk Hogan, and then you've got the home video version, which was also on Sky when it first premiered, and it had John Wayne in it instead. Both very good sequences, very funny. And yeah, I've just been a massive fan of Joe Dante's over the years, and I thought I'd just take a quick look at three of my favourites of his. And the first one, we're going to go all the way back to 1984, to the Steven Spielberg produced Gremlins. Everyone knows the story of Gremlins. Cute little mogwai called Gizmo gets bought by Billy Peltzer's dad, Rand, takes him home to give to Billy for Christmas, and basically is told three rules: don't feed them after midnight, don't get them wet, and don't expose them to bright light, including sunlight, because it kills them. And of course, certain things happen that get beyond Billy's control, and chaos ensues. And I remember first watching the film on Betamax years and years and years. We had a shit ton of Betamax tapes, and that was one of them. And it was one of my favourite tapes, and I wish I never got rid of it. We dumped a load of our Betamax cassettes. And as I said, I just wish we never. It was such a great film. It really, really is. And I bought this steelbook off of Zavvi years and years ago. It might have even been about 2015, 2016. When's the? And it doesn't say when the disc was released, but the inside artwork though is what was used on the DVD. Few years ago for the double pack that came out. But I mean, I do prefer that artwork, but it's even better when it's over the top of that artwork, just like on the original VHS release and original Betamax release. It's a very funny film, bit of violence in there, bit of horror as well, but it's good fun. It's just great fun, especially the sequence with Mrs. Deagle and her chairlift. That for me just makes the whole film. It really does. And then you've also got an appearance by Jonathan Banks, who was in Better Call Saul as Mike Ehrmantraut, the go-to fix-it guy. Yes, he's in it as a copper. And I actually said to my wife a couple of days ago that, you know, a little theory that I had, that he was a cop in Philadelphia. Well, what if beforehand he was a copper in Kingston Falls in 1984? You know, and then he moved to Philadelphia, and what, like a couple of years after, maybe just after this, had a son, and, you know, everything about it, you know. Yeah, anyway, Gremlins. Love this film. Really do. Really do. I love the second one, don't get me wrong, I love the second one. It's more of a send-up, with a bit of horror, loads of comedy, but I think that the first Gremlins is by far and away the best one. I really do. It's just great fun, all around. You can just stick it on and just have a bloody good time. You really can. Now the next one is inspired by, I think is what I'm looking for, inspired by the earlier 1960 film Fantastic Voyage, starring Stephen Boyd and Donald Pleasance and Raquel Welch as well, where a scientist who's defecting from Soviet Union, defecting to the west, to America. There's an attempt on his life, and he's got a blood clot in his brain. So a group of scientists are shrunk down in a mini submersible to basically microscopic size. They're injected in, and they basically have to try and get to the brain and deal with the blood clot. And also along the way, they have to deal with the white corpuscle cells, like white blood cells as well, that basically think that they're an invader and things like that. For the time, it was fantastic effects. I mean, and in some places they still hold up today. Just a great film, very tense in certain places. Just a brilliant film all round. And this film took its inspiration from it and basically took it the comedy angle, and it's Inner Space with Dennis Quaid, Martin Short and Meg Ryan, as well as Joe Dante stalwart Kevin McCarthy and Robert Picardo as well, another stalwart of Joe Dante's films. He's either in like a guest capacity, or he's got an expanded role like in this as the cowboy, the purveyor of all things microchips. And the story goes that secret experiment to shrink objects down and see if the shrunk craft can interface with an animal organism, interrupted by terrorists who want to steal the technology for themselves to sell to the highest bidder for war. Cue loads of funny shenanigans with Martin Short and Dennis Quaid being injected in the submersible inside Martin Short, and they have to work together. And funny film, really funny film. I mean, there's one part where he tries to make him look like Robert Picardo, and nice little bit of camera trickery in that as well, where he's supposed to have been turned into Robert Picardo. You see him from the back and he's talking to Meg Ryan, and you see it's him, but then as it pans with Meg Ryan off camera, he's getting undressed, running around the back of the set, putting the gag on, getting tied up, getting in the bath, and then as soon as he's just in the bath, the camera goes into the bathroom. It's just a fantastic shot, it really is. It's really great, you know, and it's just great fun. It's like all of Joe Dante's films. There's a bit of madcap humour in there, and they are really good fun, and that is no exception. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I don't know why not, because it's absolutely fantastic. Love the film. And for the final one, we're going to jump to 1988, I do believe. Yes, 1988, and that's probably giving the game away by me doing that, but I don't think you can actually see it. But yes, jump into 1988, where he went to Universal. And again, in the cast was Robert Picardo in a very small capacity. Dick Miller was another one, who was in Gremlins as Mr. Futterman, and he's in this as well, you know, like a guest starring role. And another stalwart of Joe Dante's, Henry Gibson, plays one of the main, I'll say bad guys, but he's not really bad guy. And Tom Hanks, Carrie Fisher, Bruce Dern, who's absolutely hilarious in this, and the late Gail Gordon as their neighbour Walter. And of course, it's The Burbs. It's one of the greatest films I've ever seen. Lots of laughs, lots of camaraderie between them all. It's just a brilliant film. It really is. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it since. I really, really haven't. I mean, unless there is, and if anyone can suggest a film that's like that to me, then please do. But it's a bit of a social commentary on nosy neighbours, let's just say, of people like, you know, going, oh, look at that family down there, oh, what are they up to, and things like that. And in this case, you know, it's that exact same thing. It's like they're spying on their neighbour because they're a little bit different, a little bit weird. But no, it is great fun. It's I'd say it's one of Tom Hanks's best films. It really is. And this was, I think, this was a few years before he went to do a different genre of film. What was he? I think this was about 7, 8, maybe 9 years before he done Saving Private Ryan, and before he done things like Captain Phillips, Castaway, 6 years before Forrest Gump. You know, it was that transition period, and I think he's probably one of the few actors who can transition between genres and does it really well. You know, I mean, he's in Elvis as Colonel Tom Parker, and he's in a new Pinocchio movie as Geppetto. So it'd be quite interesting to see that. But no, The Burbs, again, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. For me, it's madcap. It's madcap. There are some great gags in it. It really is, and there's some great one-liners. I mean, there's one bit where Walter's dog, his poodle, goes over to Bruce Dern, goes over to his front garden, takes a dump on the garden, and he treads in it, and he basically says something along the lines of, if I catch that dog, sorry, if that dog craps in my yard one more time or something, I'm going to staple his ass shut. It's just absolutely hilarious. It really is. But no, 3 very highly recommended Joe Dante films. Really, really highly recommended. And there's one thing as well. I did post this on Facebook when I got this through, which I think is actually pretty funny as well. When you look at the front there, it's the British PG, the rating that it used to be on, like, I think it was the cinema and VHS, and it was only when it was re-released on DVD it was reclassified. And it was reclassified as I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's reclassified as a 12. So it's a 12 disc with a PG sticker on the front. I find that hilarious myself. I really, really do. I just find it hilarious. But I mean, that, for me, that's the original poster art, and I do like it when you get steelbooks that have that art, like the original artwork on it. But then I don't get why some modern releases of classic films, they don't have the original poster artwork on there. I don't get it. I really don't. I mean, in some they do, but then some they don't. You know, I mean, obviously you've got releases from people like Arrow, who have got newly commissioned artwork with the original artwork on the reverse, and I like the original artwork. I'd rather have the original artwork. But in the case of something like RoboCop, with the limited edition version that came out, the actual rigid box had the new artwork on, but then you could switch the inlay on the standard Blu-ray to the new artwork, and I like it. I like the original artwork, always have. You know. But anyway, I'm getting away from the point. There's 3 very awesome Joe Dante movies. I know people will turn around and say, "Oh, what about The Howling?" I have seen The Howling. I watched it last year. I watched it once, and well, I thought it was okay. It was all right. It's not a film I'd watch again. It really isn't. I don't know, it just didn't grab me, you know. It didn't grab me like an American Werewolf in London. And now, I did like that film, but for me, I find, and again, everyone's opinion's different. People will say, "Oh yeah, I could watch American Werewolf in London over and over and over again," For me, I found it a one watch only movie. I did like it, really did enjoy it, but I think because people have said over the years, oh, it's really great, it's just like really, really pushed. It's like I watched it and I'm like, well, I watched it, I've got no inclination to watch it again. You know, I think it's because I didn't watch it back then, whereas with these, I watched these back in the day. I mean, Gremlins, as I say, we had it on Betamax. In a Space, we recorded it off of BBC One, you know, and I watched it quite a lot. I didn't at first because I thought, oh no, I don't like this. But then it wasn't until a couple of years later that I watched it again, and I really liked it, really, really enjoyed it. And then The Burbs, again, recorded it off of BBC One, watched it, loved it. And I think with An American Werewolf in London and The Howling, I think I probably would have liked them even more if I'd have watched them at the time. But as I say, I do like An American Werewolf in London, but it's not a film that I've got to have in my collection, you know. But again, that's just me. Everyone's different, and that's what makes the world go round. Anyway, that's it for this quick episode. I know it's only just under 20 minutes long, but I wanted to do something a little bit different to the Nintendo videos. I know I've only done 2, but I was going to do a video on my Evercade collection, and I still might put that up, but I don't know. But I don't want to deviate too much from Nintendo month. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this quick look at 3 Joe Dante movies. I mean, I know the other video that the first video I'd done of USR1 Retro at the movies, there was like video scenes and all that, and this, that, and the other. But I found it was a little bit too scripted for me. I wanted to do things that were off the cuff, and just so it's not all I'm just reading off of something. It's just coming straight from here. So anyway, I hope you liked the video. And I hope if you haven't seen the films, if you've seen just one of them, you might be inclined to watch the other ones. I hope so, because they're bloody good films. Anyway, next time I will be going back to the Nintendo month. I'm probably going to be taking a look at some NES games. And see what they're like, and maybe doing a top 5 NES. I don't know. But until then, this is USR1 Retro saying thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Look after one another, be safe and be kind, and I will catch you in the next video. So until then, goodbye for now.